Smartly combine a complex layer mask with words to create an amazingly versatile clipping mask for your photos or your favorite papers. Hi, this is Jen White from Digital Scrapper, the very best place on the web to find complete and professional instruction for digital scrapbooking. We help you get your stories told. This video is being filmed in Photoshop Elements, but the instructions are exactly the same for Adobe Photoshop. Begin by opening the document that was provided in the download. This document is 5 by 7 inches. You could also start with a new document, but this document contains everything you need to complete this tutorial and create a lovely birthday card. Once you have the document open, you'll want to press the letter D to reset the color chips to the default of black over white, and then in the Layers panel, click on the mask layer to make it active. It should also be visible. If you're working on your own document, you will need to add a mask. The color of the mask that you add is not important, but the kind of mask you use for this technique is important. You want to make sure to use a mask that has some large areas of light transparency built in. But watch out, because mask transparency can be very deceiving. One way you can check the transparency of a mask is to put a patterned paper behind it. Notice that when I move this yellow patterned paper below the mask layer in the Layers panel, and then reveal the paper layer, you can see the color of the paper and some of the pattern through the mask. I'll undo that because here's an easier way to tell. With the mask layer active in the Layers panel and the foreground color chip black, use the shortcut of Shift-Alt-Backspace in Windows or Shift-Option-Delete on a Mac to fill the pixels of this layer with the foreground color. When doing this, a dark black color on the mask indicates that no or very little transparency exists, whereas a light gray on the mask translates to those pixels being very transparent. This is a great mask to use for this technique because it has a large area of light gray color. Let's take a look at a couple examples of bad and good choices of masks for this tutorial. This mask, when filled with black, is almost completely dark black, which means it contains little to no transparency. This mask would not be good for this tutorial. This mask, however, when filled with black, has some dark black areas, but it has a lot of light gray areas, which means it contains a lot of heavy transparency. This mask would be a good fit for this tutorial. Now let's go back to the tutorial document. And I'd like to mention again, for this tutorial, the color of the mask does not matter. I could have left it blue and that would have been just fine. So once you've determined your mask has good transparency, the next step is to add some type. In the Layers panel, click on the visibility icon of the Happy Birthday type layer. If you're working on your own document, you will need to add a word or a phrase. Again, the color of the word or phrase does not matter, and the phrase doesn't even have to be a type layer. You could use word art instead. As I mentioned, the color of the word or phrase you use does not matter, but I kept this phrase black to show the contrast of the word to the mask. Notice that if I activate that word layer in the Layers panel and also have the Move tool, and then I click and drag the word to, say, the top of the mask, the word is now much harder to read because that's where the darker and less transparent pixels are. Yet if I keep my word down here over the light gray area, there's much more contrast, making the word easier to read. The goal for placing the word or phrase on your document would be to position it in a place that provides the most contrast. And in this case, that's easy to recognize because my phrase is black. Also, for this phrase, notice that I used a chunkier font. Depending on your combination of mask, phrase, and paper, a chunkier font can really help. So now that we have the mask and the phrase, and we've got them in the right position, the next step is to group them together. In the Layers panel, the Type layer should be the active layer. Hold down the Shift key and click on the mask layer. Now both layers should be active. Click on the Create a New Group icon, and then click on the arrow to open the contents of the group. And here you can see that my group contains the Type layer and the mask layer. Within the group itself, the order of the layers does not matter. The next step is to clip a paper to the group. In the Layers panel, click on the yellow paper layer to activate it, and then click on the visibility icon of the yellow paper layer to reveal it. If you're working on your own document, you will need to add a paper that fills the document. The best kinds of paper to use for this technique are dark papers with subtle patterns. Here's an example of a good and bad paper to use. Next, in the menu bar, choose Layer, Create Clipping Mask. And then at this point, you may find that you want to adjust a part inside the group, such as the Type layer. So in the Layers panel, to do that, activate the Type layer. Then with the Move tool, I can click and drag on the document to move my word around. I'll leave it right about there. If you'd like to finish the greeting card in the Layers panel, click on the visibility icons of the Hello Lovely white paper and the Hello Lovely Elements, and then the extra Type layer at the top to give your card a subtitle. Besides clipping paper to your group, know that you can also clip a photo to the group, as I've done on this scrapbook page. And then another idea to try is to add additional Type layers to your group. Also, if there are specific parts of your group that need to be 100% opacity, such as the faces of people or of your favorite puppy dogs, try adding a brush layer to your group, and that will brighten those parts up. So that's one way to add a little spectacular clipping skill to your toolbox. If you'd like to learn more about working with and creating complex clipping masks, check out Brushability Making Masks by Cindy Rogers. You'll find a link to this class as well as a coupon code in the manual that accompanies this video. This has been Jen White for Digital Scrapper.